College football recruiting is always crazy, especially at the quarterback position. There have been many big-time players in the past who ended up flipping around at different schools. For example, did you know that Justin Fields was at one point committed to Penn State? Did you know that Mac Jones was committed to Kentucky? And did you know Michael Penix Jr. was committed to Tennessee? There are lots of stories and examples of that each and every year, and in today's video we're actually going to go through 15 quarterbacks who are currently in college football who were originally committed to different schools. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you can support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about 15 quarterbacks who originally committed to different schools. Okay, so the first guy we're going to talk about is Carson Beck. He's honestly one of the most polarizing quarterbacks in college football right now for Georgia, but he wasn't always a Bulldog. Originally from Jacksonville, Florida, Carson attended Mandarin High School in the area and was a highly touted quarterback recruit in the class of 2020. Originally, though, he had committed to Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide the summer before his junior year of high school. The Tide were one of his first offers after Boston College and Florida Atlantic, and it only took him a couple of weeks to commit there. He would actually end up decommitting to Alabama right before he got an offer from Georgia, and didn't commit to the Dogs until the spring before his senior year. What happened next? Well, Carson redshirted in 2020 and only played in a few games in 2021 and 2022 behind Stetson Bennett. He became the full-time starter in 2023 and is currently the starter in 2024. And so far in his career, he has 6,700 yards with 47 touchdowns and 19 picks. He's also won 20 games at Georgia, and that includes an Orange Bowl victory. Up next, we have to talk about Lenoris Sellers. He has a super bright future with South Carolina, but the Gamecocks weren't his first school that really wanted him. He was originally a 3-star recruit in the class of 2023, coming out of South Florence High School in South Carolina. He originally committed to Virginia in the summer before his junior year in 2021, but after the season was over, he decommitted when Syracuse offered him a path to starting. After a phenomenal senior year in which he led South Florence to a state championship, he shot up recruiting boards and earned the attention of Shane Beamer in South Carolina. He quickly flipped to the Gamecocks and signed his letter of intent before the 2023 season. Since then, Lenoris has become a common pick to eventually become a big-time player, as he has great athleticism, a good arm, and seems to have that it factor. He'd redshirt in 2023 behind Spencer Rattler, and so far this year he has over 1,200 passing yards with 7 touchdowns, as well as nearly 400 yards and 4 scores on the ground. South Carolina is having a pretty good season, and Lenoris will continue to grow and develop over time. The next guy is Dante Moore. His career has taken some really interesting turns, but before ending up at Oregon, he was originally going to be a Bruin before he even committed there. Dante was born in Cleveland, but ended up going to high school at Martin Luther King High School, where he quickly became a recruiting target for a lot of big schools since he started as a true freshman. He would finish his high school career with just under 10,000 passing yards and 135 touchdowns and just 35 picks. He was a 5-star recruit and the number 3 quarterback prospect in the country, and after his junior season, it came down to 2 schools, Oregon and UCLA. He originally committed to Oregon before his senior year, but then visited UCLA after the season and quickly would flip to the Bruins, where he signed his letter of intent and actually played under Chip Kelly. He started as a true freshman for the Bruins, throwing for 1,600 yards with 11 touchdowns and 9 picks, and ended up having 5 starts there. He then entered the transfer portal going into 2024, and where would he end up? Well, he's at Oregon now, and many believe he's groomed to become the next quarterback after Dylan Gabriel, and he'll battle it out with Austin Novosad. Josh Hoover is the next quarterback on our list, and before he ended up at TCU, he was originally supposed to be an Indiana Hoosier. Josh was born in Rockwall, Texas, which is on the other side of Dallas, so at the time, TCU was the closest Power 5 team to him growing up. He was considered a 3-star recruit in the class of 2022, and had a lot of Group of 5 teams offering him, but his first commitment was to Indiana the summer before his senior year. After he finished the year as the best player in the area, he decommitted from the Hoosiers, denied an offer from SMU, and committed to TCU on the same day they offered him. He'd end up redshirting in 2022, taking over for struggling Chandler Morris in 2023, and he's been TCU's starting quarterback ever since then. So far this year, he has nearly 3,000 yards and over 20 touchdowns, and has made himself one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Shador Sanders is one of the most valuable players in college football right now, but before his time at Colorado, he was originally committed to Florida Atlantic. Born in Tyler, Texas, Shador's high school career at Trinity Christian School was enough to get him ranked as a 3-star recruit in the class of 2021. He did receive offers from bigger programs as far back as 2017, but the summer before his senior year, he committed to Florida Atlantic because of Willie Taggart. Not long after that, though, Jackson State would hire his dad to be the head coach, and Shador would flip to Jackson State. His story since joining Jackson State has been told pretty much everywhere, as he's had some of the highest passing totals in both the FCS and FBS, helping JSU to 2 double-digit winning seasons, and then following his dad to Colorado, where after one disappointing season last year, they're actually competing for the Big 12 right now, and he's having a great season, and he'll probably go off to the NFL. The next guy is Marcel Reed at Texas A&M, and he has helped Mike Elko so far have a good rebuild. Originally, though, Marcel Reed was committed to play for Ole Miss. He was considered a 4-star recruit in the class of 2023, as he came out of Montgomery Bell Academy in Nashville, Tennessee. In 4 years as a starter, he threw for 6,400 yards with 62 touchdowns and 24 picks. After his junior year, where he helped his team to 2 high school state championships, he decided to commit to the Ole Miss Rebels and Lane Kiffin. But after offers from Auburn and A&M, he decommitted from the Rebels and chose the Aggies over the Tigers. Since then, he's been part of a new and rejuvenated offense under offensive coordinator Colin Klein, and while he's only played a couple of games so far, he has shown a lot of flash, especially in that huge victory over LSU. He's a good fit in Colin Klein's offense, and so far he's thrown for nearly 1,000 yards, and he's probably the quarterback of the future in College Station. Eli Holstein is having a heck of a season for the Pitt Panthers so far, and he originally transferred in from Alabama. But not many people remember that at one point, he was supposed to be an Aggie. Originally from Zachary, Louisiana, Holstein was considered a 4-star recruit in the class of 2023 and a fast riser in the scouting world. He went to multiple Elite 11 camps, and as a sophomore he got offers from LSU and Texas A&M. It wasn't until right before his junior year, though, that he got an offer from Bama, but he did decide to commit to A&M before the season started. He kept his recruitment up, and after a junior day, would eventually decide to flip to the Crimson Tide. Eli would spend 1 year at Alabama and redshirt the entire season before Nick Saban would announce his retirement, and Eli would enter the transfer portal. He ended up at Pitt for this season, and so far he's led into one of their better seasons in recent memory, as they started out 7-0, but have since dropped 2 games, and he's thrown for over 2,000 yards and close to 20 touchdowns. Payton Thorne has caused a lot of frustration to Auburn fans at the moment, but long before he transferred there from Michigan State, he was originally committed to Western Michigan. He was born in Naperville, Illinois, as the son of Jeff Thorne, who coached his high school football team, and Payton was a 3-star recruit in the class of 2019. He was about middle of the pack in terms of recruits, and by the time he was a junior, he decided to commit to Western Michigan, since they were the only D1 school to offer him at that point. After a great senior season, though, he got an offer from Michigan State and chose to flip to them. He would then spend 4 years at Michigan State, redshirting his freshman year and taking over the starting job in 2021, leading Sparty to an 11-2 record. After a rough 2022 season, though, he'd entered the transfer portal and ended up with Hugh Freeze and Auburn in 2023. He has struggled there immensely, though, and many are ready for the Payton Thorne era to be done. Dylan Rayola is one of the most anticipated Nebraska quarterbacks in history, and he famously flipped to the Huskers from Georgia. Despite being a huge Nebraska legacy guy, with his dad and uncle being former Husker players, Dylan was always going to garner a lot of recruiting tension due to how good he was as a recruit. He transferred high schools twice, starting in Texas and then moving to Arizona and Georgia, and he'd finished his high school career as a 5-star recruit, the number 2 overall quarterback recruit, and he committed to Georgia before his senior season, but after a late push from Nebraska that included hiring his uncle to be a coach, he would decide to flip to the Huskers. He immediately became the starting quarterback for head coach Matt Rule in Nebraska as a true freshman, and so far has thrown for over 2,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 8 picks, but has shown flashes of excellence and a lot of growing pains. Nebraska's in the process of bringing in bright offensive minds on the coaching staff, and Rayola has a very bright future. Honestly, Tyler Shuck has seemingly been everywhere. Louisville, Texas Tech, and Oregon are his last 3 stops, but before he started his college career at the Ducks, he was originally set to be a Tar Heel. He was originally a highly touted quarterback prospect from Chandler, Arizona, finishing his senior season ranked as a 4-star recruit in the class of 2018 and the 6th best quarterback in the nation. Before his senior year, though, he'd originally committed to North Carolina over teams like Arizona State and South Carolina, but halfway through his senior year, he attracted the attention of Oregon and flipped from the Tar Heels to the Ducks to take over for Justin Herbert. Tyler didn't get his opportunity to lead the Ducks until 2020, where he started all 7 games, throwing for 1,500 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. From there, though, he would transfer to Texas Tech, where he played for 3 more years, but lost his starting job in 2023 after going 1-3 as a starter. After the 2023 season was over, he quietly transferred to Louisville as a 7th-year player, where he's actually having the best season of his career so far, throwing for over 2,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 5 picks. Jaden Milroe has become one of the best quarterbacks in the country at Alabama, but he was almost a Texas Longhorn. He was born and raised in Katy, Texas, meaning he grew up surrounded by the Longhorns, and his recruitment was interesting since Alabama showed interest early on, and he even named them as their leader in his recruitment, but a few days after, Texas offered, he committed to them, and then right before his senior season started, he'd flip back to the Crimson Tide and head coach Nick Saban. He redshirted his freshman year in 2021 and played in 8 games with 1 start in 2022 behind Bryce Young. After Young left for the NFL, Jalen was the starting quarterback for the 2023 season, where he started all 13 games and led Alabama to an 11-2 record and an SEC championship berth. He then stayed at Bama when Kalen DeBoer took over and has been their starter all season. So far in his career, he has over 5,000 yards, over 40 touchdowns, and is commonly thrown around as a Heisman candidate. Kaden Salter is one of the best Group of 5 quarterbacks in the country, but before he ended up at Liberty, he was originally set to be a Tennessee Volunteer, as he did end up committing to Tennessee. He was originally from Cedar Hill, Texas, and was considered a 4-star quarterback recruit. He was part of the class of 2021, and many Power 5 programs really wanted him, including Baylor, Arkansas, and Ole Miss, but his other 2 offers were Liberty and Tennessee. He ended up choosing the Volunteers before his senior season started in 2020, and he actually enrolled with them and got a semester of practice in. His freshman year was extremely chaotic though, as he was dismissed from the program in early 2021 because of an arrest. After that, he hit the transfer portal and ended up at Liberty, and they were one of the first schools that offered him a scholarship, and he was there since 2022. Since then, Kaden has been pretty successful, playing in 8 games in 2022, before taking over as the full-time starter in 2023 and 2024, and he's putting up big numbers while he's with the Flames. Nick Evers is another example of a quarterback that's been all over the place. Before ending up at UConn by way of Oklahoma and Wisconsin, he was originally supposed to be a Florida Gator. He was a 4-star recruit in the class of 2022 coming out of Flower Mound, Texas, and was one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the class. He had offers from all sorts of Power 5 programs, but the one that wanted him the most was Florida. The Gators first offered him in early 2021, and then made a push right before his senior season, and he was committed to them all the way throughout his senior year. But Oklahoma made a late push after the year was over, and he would end up flipping from UF to OU. Despite Oklahoma's interest, he barely saw the field in 2022 behind Dylan Gabriel, and he would decide to enter the transfer portal before settling on Luke Fickell in Wisconsin to replace Graham Mertz. But he sat behind another former Sooner in Tanner Mordecai in the depth chart, and couldn't find the field there either, so he transferred again, this time to UConn. He was finally able to get some playing time, and so far this year, he started out as the starter, but then lost the starting job. Everyone knows the story of Cam Rising. He's been playing college football for nearly an eternity, and recently got hurt again, keeping him from finishing out his career with Utah. I don't really know much about his future, but he ended up at Utah after originally committing to Oklahoma. He was a 3-star recruit in the class of 2018, and after a great 2015 sophomore season, he committed to Oklahoma and head coach Bob Stoops. But after Stoops retired, he decommitted and ended up going to Texas before his senior season. He would then end up at Texas for the 2018 campaign, but then was redshirted and didn't find the field, so he hit the transfer portal and ended up at Utah. He's had 3 red shirts in 7 seasons, but has still managed to put up over 6,000 yards and 53 touchdowns with 17 picks, all for the Utes. Despite battling some big injuries and only 1 full season as a starter, Cam was part of a good stretch in Utah football history, helping them win the Pac-12 championship in 2022 and enter the Big 12 as one of the preseason favorites. Alright, the final guy on our list is Danny ONeal. He's currently the starting quarterback for San Diego State, but he was originally supposed to go to Colorado with Coach Prime. This is a guy I've been hearing about for years, as he went to Cathedral High School, which is just down the street from me in Indianapolis, and he had offers from both Big Ten teams in the state of Indiana, as well as teams like Kentucky, Louisville, and Illinois, but had an offer from Colorado that he was given the spring before his senior year. He decided to commit to Coach Prime and the Buffaloes, but late during his senior season, he announced that he'd decommit. Colorado's offensive coordinator Sean Lewis was leaving to become the head coach at San Diego State, and he decided that he'd follow Coach Lewis and flip to the Aztecs. He actually was instantly named the starting quarterback for the Aztecs in 2024, and so far has thrown for 1,400 yards with 8 touchdowns. He's been the starter every week but one, and he honestly looks like the future of the Aztecs program as they now move into the new-look Pac-12 conference. So yeah, today we talked about 15 current big-time quarterbacks who originally committed to different schools, and let me know if there's a guy who I missed. If I did, be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. Give me your thoughts on this list. Let me know what I should do next. And also before you go, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.